And for our third and final story for this episode of the Rolling Stone, we go to Disney. You know, I was born in the late 80s, and so I grew up right during the Disney Renaissance. So Disney actually played a big part of my childhood, and God willing, someday, if I ever get married and actually start a family, I would like my kids to actually grow up on the Disney movies that I grew up on. Both, the classics like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Rescuers, Peter Pan, Robin Hood, and the ones from the Disney Renaissance. Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, etc., etc. But Disney has shifted so much from what Walt Disney actually envisioned for his company. Which brings us to this story. Disney Plus has just released, they released this past week, a new Pixar short. It's now a Disney Pixar short because in its never-ending feeding frenzy, Pixar was one of the companies that Disney gobbled up, right? They used to be independent and they just kind of partnered with Disney to release their movies. Disney now out and out owns Pixar, like it owns Lucasfilms and Marvel. Well, Disney Pixar has created a new short that is now streaming on Disney Plus, streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, and it is called Out. Okay? Take a wild guess what it's about. If you guessed that it is about a gay man who is still in the closet to his parents, who is trying desperately to tell them that he is gay because he's actually moving to live with his boyfriend, give yourself a gold star. You are right on the nose. You are a mind reader, my friend. That is what this short is about. In a nutshell, this 9-minute short, that's what it's about. And it's a historic moment, don't you know, because this is the first time that a main character in a Disney project of any kind has actually been LGBT. Okay? We've had implications in Frozen and Finding Dory and in Onward, but this is the first time that the main character has, there is no ambiguity or anything like that, because one of the main parts of this short from the trailer that was released on YouTube is him and his dog Jim. Of course, we have to have a cute little animal sidekick, trying to hide the photograph of him and his boyfriend Manuel. The main character's name is Greg. So it's Greg and his dog Jim trying to hide the photograph of Greg and his boyfriend Manuel from his parents when they come over to help him move, because, he's just so scared about telling them. Now, according to InsideTheMagic.net, quote, "It appears that the animated film will follow a gay character as he finds the courage to tell his parents that he is gay and dating another man. Going off of the scene with the couple in a picture frame, it appears that the name of the main character is Greg and his boyfriend's name is Manuel." Okay? And then here's the twist. Here's the twist, gang. In this short, through some magical deus ex machina, Greg the guy switches bodies with his dog Jim. Okay? And from this, Greg learns the importance of, get your buckets ready, quote unquote, being true to himself. What a cliche. Wow. Not like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others of cartoons and movies from the last 5 years, even the last 10 years, maybe even the last 15 years haven't made that exact same point. Way to go, Disney. The creative powerhouse of the imagination, Disney and its Imagineers. Okay? And this short, Out, is aimed directly at children. I've seen the trailer. It is described as having a storybook style. Okay, again, according to InsideTheMagic.net. net. It has a lovable dog as a sidekick, and more importantly, that lovable, cuddly sidekick character, the character that the kids are the character that is designed and created specifically so that the little kids will all, gush over him because, oh God, he's just so gosh darn cute and everything. That dog is totally on Greg and Manuel's side. So important, the cute, cuddly dog / sidekick is totally on the right side of history. And if you don't want to make that dog Jim sad, you'll be on the right side of history too, kids, if you know what. And it has a lot of zany antics, of course, because it's a Pixar thing. So, of course, it's visually interesting. It's not all just talking. It pushes its message. It's not just preaching to kids. It's preaching to kids by telling them a story. And it was released, coincidence of coincidence, at a time when a lot of kids are still inside because of lockdown orders from the pandemic. Whether that was just a huge coincidence or if they kind of put more resources into finishing it so that it could still be released while the pandemic was happening, I have no idea. I wouldn't put it past the people at Disney if they had actually done that. Okay, so let me just say it. Let me put it on Front Street. This short is propaganda. Pure and simple. It is propaganda, but don't take my word for it. Listen to this. This is from the New York Times. GLAAD, okay, the LGBTQIA2+, whatever organization, GLAAD, it is just ecstatic over out. Jeremy Blacklow, the director of entertainment media for GLAAD, said, quote, "Over the past few years, LGBTQ characters and stories have become common in the kids and family entertainment space with little controversy, but with large celebration from LGBTQ families with children who have longed to see themselves represented. By centering on a young gay man, Out just raised the bar for inclusion in kids and family programming." Unquote. Kimberly A. Taylor, an associate professor of marketing and logistics at Florida International University, says that it's very, very important. What Out is very, very important because being validated, seeing yourself, seeing someone who represents you on the screen is very, very important. Okay? Now, what all this means? Okay, so this idea, validation of who you are, quote unquote, very, very important. This idea of representation, the idea of inclusion, okay, all of these buzzwords, these key words. What all of this means is that Disney has simply become another outlet for propaganda. It is basically another branch of INSOC, which was the party newspaper in George Orwell's 1984. It is parroting the party line. It is repeating here. Disney is repeating here the ideological line, okay, when it comes to sex, orientation, gender, etc., etc. It's using its brand, its whatever creativity it has left, because let's be quite honest, for the last couple of years, Disney has been creatively bankrupt. Okay, that's one of the real reasons I think that they bought Lucasfilm. I think that that's one reason why they keep remaking their animated movies. It's because they don't know how to actually tell good stories anymore. They just want stuff that makes money. And again, nothing wrong with making money. Disney is a movie studio. Movie studios are a business like any other one. And one of the primary things that you have to think of when you're a business is, how do I make money? How do I stay in business by having enough income so I can continue to create or produce the product that people like? Okay, I'm not saying that that's not important. What I am saying, however, is that Disney has focused now all of its attention on the money and on ideology, and creativity has been booted out the window. So it's using its brand, what creativity it has left, and the trust or apathy of parents to push the gender ideology onto kids, and they go full out, okay? Another thing that people were going gaga about is that apparently, I have not seen Out, but because it's streaming on Disney Plus and I don't have Disney Plus, but apparently it features the very first gay kiss, not only in a Pixar short, but in anything Pixar or Disney at all. Okay, there was supposed to be one in, I forget if it was in Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker, but whichever one it was cut on the editing floor. Okay, so this is the first one. Another historic moment, another great piece of propaganda for the kids to eat. Okay, now this is a betrayal. Disney becoming simply another propaganda tool for the fads and fancies of the day. It is a betrayal. It is first a betrayal of what Disney should be standing for. Walt Disney created the Disney Studio and the Disney Company to tell good stories for the entire family. Okay, that's, in a nutshell, that's why Walt Disney created his company in the first place. To tell good stories to the entire family. And Disney was so brilliantly able to tell good stories because he wasn't bothering about representation or inclusion. Think back about some of the great Disney movies, okay? And for simplicity's sake, let's just focus on the animated stuff, okay? Think about Cinderella. Think about Dumbo, or Peter Pan, or The Rescuers, or Aladdin, or Beauty and the Beast, okay? Those movies work because they all speak to our humanity. They all speak to our universal human nature. They talk on universal themes of responsibility, of hope, of joy, of mercy, of kindness, of heroism. Okay? Those are things that appeal to us. They attract us. No matter what our sex, no matter what our orientation or anything. When I was little, one of my favorite, two of my favorite Disney movies of all time were Robin Hood, the 1973 animated version where they're all animals, and The Great Mouse Detective. Okay, I didn't give one damn that, they were talking animals and they were talking mice, and I was thinking to myself, well, obviously I can't associate, or I can't, I can't, what's the word? It just went right out of my head. I can't associate with any of these characters. I can't, I can't do anything with these characters because they're not like me. Okay? They're not 5-year-old boys, who live in the Midwest. So obviously these characters don't speak to me. I didn't think that at all. I saw Robin Hood, fighting evil, corrupt people to protect the weak and the defenseless. I saw Basil of Baker Street using his brains and his energy to solve mysteries, to help people, and to put criminals, to bring criminals to justice. That's what I saw. I saw, heck yeah, that speaks to me. It speaks to every little kid. And honestly, it speaks to every good person. And even people who have kind of lost their way. Sometimes, it speaks to them. That's what good stories are about. And that's what Disney used to do brilliantly. And in fact, it's the sign of a good creative storyteller who can take a universal theme, like some that I've just mentioned, and then to channel it beautifully into a particular story. Okay? Only lazy people do the opposite, which is what these creators who made Out and now Disney are doing. That's the first way that it's a betrayal. Disney has also betrayed kids and all of us because the magic is gone. And really think about that, okay? Forget about the part where Greg, the main character, and Jim, his dog, switch bodies, which honestly is just a ripoff of Freaky Friday. Okay, right? Remember that movie? Either the original one with Haley Mills, or the remake that they made with Jamie Lee Curtis and, oh gosh, I forgot her name, but someone can tell me in the comments. Okay? Forget about that, because that's kind of a minor point. All the great Disney movies, like Beauty and the Beast, or The Rescuers, or Peter Pan, they were fantasies. They were fiction in the best sense of the word, because the whole point of fiction is to allow us to escape reality. Even fiction that isn't fantasy, science fiction, or adventure, that is supposedly just a fictional story, like a Sherlock Holmes story that's set in 1888 London, right? Late Victorian London. Even that, in a sense, it allows us to escape the world that we live in now and to go back to another time, another place, another world, in a sense. And that is good for the soul. That escape is good for the soul. J.R.R. Tolkien, actually, in his essay on fairy tales, he said it is absolutely good and justified that people escape from reality through fantasy, through fairy tales, through fiction, because we know that the world isn't just about the four walls that are around us. And especially today, again, if you listen to my first video about the burning of Minneapolis, it's good to fight, it's good to argue, but also our souls and our minds need to be recharged. And sometimes the best way to do that is to temporarily escape through good fiction, reading great stories, like that. That's what good fiction is supposed to do. That's what Disney was able to do so well. However, this short out, it does the exact opposite because of the subject matter. Instead of allowing us to escape from the world for however long, in this case it would have been 9 minutes, it actually chains us down further into the real world, because it is taking something from the real world, a political issue, a cultural issue from the real world, and it is making that the centerpiece of this short. Kids aren't allowed to escape from the world. They aren't allowed to exercise their imagination. They are only allowed to be reinforced. They are only allowed to be fed a particular worldview of the real world. It chains them down to the real world. Again, like I said, never mind the body switching element, because that is just a gimmick used to further emphasize the moral that the short is trying to make, okay? It's not like the Shaggy Dog or anything where it's part of the gag and it's part of the fantasy. No, here it's just a gimmick to get to the moral that Disney wants all the kids to learn. That you need to be true to yourself. You need to be authentic to whoever you are, whatever you are on the inside. And no one should be able to tell you that you can't do that. So that's another way, okay? But it's also a betrayal to creators. This is the third reason that it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal to creators. I sign up for some emails for story contests and things like that, and I can't tell you how many times when anthologies are being published or magazines are looking for stories, when they say, we don't want, white, straight, cisgendered males writing stuff. They don't come out and say that, but they say, we are particularly looking for queer voices, for lesbian voices, for marginalized voices, for colored voices, etc., etc. And that's a sure sign that, nope, can't do that. In fact, there is a big controversy right now about can creators who are not gay, they're not minorities, can they actually write stories with characters who are gay or who are colored or who are some sort of other ethnicity or nationality other than what we are? This is a big, actually, conversation. People have had books pulled from publication because it was found out that the author was not gay or black or what other intersectionality, but the main character in this book was. And they said, whoa, that's appropriation of culture, people. You can't do that. So by actually saying that this is going to be the way forward for Disney, and we are going to have more stories of inclusivity and and all that, and representation, they are shutting down the door to a lot of creators because, I mean, logically, if a straight guy writing a story about a gay main character is appropriation, then that means that you can't have those sort of people writing those kinds of stories, right? So it closes the doors to a lot of creators, it closes the door to a lot of creative juices. Again, the exact opposite of what Disney was supposed to be about. And finally, it is a betrayal to the very LGBTQIA2+ movement, whatever you want to call it, that Disney proclaims to be an ally of. Because here's the honest to God truth about this. This short, and the message of this short, and the storyline of this short, it's old hat. It's old hat. In June, I think, I forget the exact date, but this June, it will have been 5 years since the Obergefell decision. If Disney had released this short, if Pixar had made and released this short 10 years ago, 15 years ago, then yeah, you could at least have some small amount of respect for Disney and like, wow, okay, you really believe in this because you are willing to actually make a short about this. Even though, we're still having a very heated debate about this topic, Disney didn't do that. They waited until it was safe. They waited until it was safe to do this. Okay? Which makes it even worse because they don't even believe in their own propaganda. Or, even better, they don't even believe in the end goal that the propaganda is supposed to get us towards. All they are concerned about, the executives at Disney, all they are concerned about is the Benjamins, the greenbacks. That's all that they are thinking of. And if I were a part of the LGBTQIA2+ community, I would be mad as hell at these corporate elitist frauds who only waited until it was absolutely safe, again, 5 years after the Obergefell decision, to release a short about it. Okay? In 10 years' time, I'm sure we're going to get another Pixar short, about a guy who finally comes out to his mom and dad that he's actually a girl. But until that time, I am wrapping up the video right here because I have talked for way too long. This has been kind of a downer episode, so I'm going to say what I always wish you guys at the end of these. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay dangerous. And I will talk to you later. Ciao, gang.